It began with a whisper, small, poisonous, almost invisible. A whisper that slithered through the marble halls of Kensington Palace like a serpent, leaving behind a trail of suspicion, unease, and something far darker, betrayal. For months, the British royal family had maintained a fragile facade of unity, one that masked the fractures. But now, that facade was cracking wide open. At the center of the storm stood Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, her name once again entangled in a controversy that could scorch the affair. Rumors between Prince William and Rose Hanbury were not new, they had flickered in the shadows before, a scandal the palace managed to suffocate with swift denials and strategic silence. But this time, the flames were reignited, and this time, the source was far more dangerous than an idol. According to insiders, Meghan had whispered the story into the right ears at the wrong time, letting it fester and explode just when the palace was at its most. The leak came days before an important state event, one where the world's cameras would be trained on Prince William and Princess Kate. What should have been a portrait of royal stability became a theater of whispered glances and coded headlines. Unthinkable betrayal, read one. Affair allegations return to haunt future king, read another. The palace went into lockdown, not the kind the public could see, but the cold, calculated kind where phones are seized, emails are scrubbed, and trust evaporates. Sources close to the palace claimed Meghan's fingerprints were all over the resurgence of the rumor. She had the motive, the connections, and the timing, one former aide confided. This wasn't just gossip, it was a strategic. But why? Why would Meghan risk everything, her fragile public image, her already fractured relationship with the Windsors, and her dwindling influence, to resurrect a scandal many had buried? Some pointed to the Sussexes' Netflix deals were losing steam, their memoirs had stirred outrage but little lasting power. A new scandal in the heart of the monarchy could draw attention away from their own faltering brand. Others believed it was more personal, a deep-seated grudge against Kate, a rivalry born from the days when Meghan felt overshadowed, excluded. Even in Montecito, the whispers turned into accusations. Neighbors reported seeing strange black SUVs visiting the Sussex estate at odd hours, believed to be lawyers and crisis. Meghan, according to an insider, did not deny the leak outright, she framed it as a necessary truth that the public. Harry, meanwhile, was described as torn, exhausted, and alarmed by the escalation, torn between loyalty to his wife and the lingering brotherly bond with Will. The palace's response was swift but unusually aggressive. A rare internal memo, allegedly leaked by a disgruntled staffer, referred to the affair rumor as malicious interference by external actors and vowed to pursue legal remedies if. Royal watchers noted that the language was sharper than usual, a sign that the gloves were coming. For the first time, whispers suggested the institution itself might strike back against the Sussexes. Behind closed doors, Kate Middleton reportedly broke down. Those close to her said she felt ambushed in her own home, forced to smile in public while her private world was being carved up. Her relationship with Rose Hanbury, once cordial, had been strained by the initial rumors, now it was radioactive. Every sideways glance, every polite nod at public events, was dissected by. And Meghan, the alleged instigator, remained thousands of miles away, watching it unfold like a spectator at a play she had secretly written. The timing was cruelly precise. Prince William has just begun to step more firmly into his role as heir apparent, taking on more responsibilities from King Charles, who was battling ongoing health concerns. The last thing the monarchy needed was a narrative of infidelity, betrayal, and familiar. Yet that was exactly what the headlines screamed. In the days that followed, a counter-narrative began to. Pro-Sussex commentators argued the palace itself had planted the story to discredit Meghan further, using her as a convenient scapegoat for a rumor they could no longer control. Others suggested a more sinister plot, that someone close to William had leaked just enough to frame Meghan, knowing the public would easily. The truth, as always with the royals, lay somewhere in the shadows. By the second week, lawyers were. American attorneys for the Sussexes issued veiled threats about defamation and intentional infliction of emotion. British royal aides hinted at unprecedented legal action, not just against tabloids, but potentially against those responsible for maliciously spreading unverified information with demonstrable intent to damage. If that phrase meant Meghan, then a royal war was no longer a whisper, it was. Meanwhile, the public lapped it up. Hashtags like #RoseRumour and #MeghanLeak trended across social. TikTokers reconstructed timelines, analyzed body language from years-old footage, and speculated whether Kate's rare absences were coded signals of marital strife. The monarchy's carefully curated image of duty and dignity was being shredded in real time, one viral clip. And through it all, Meghan remained silent. No interviews, no podcasts, no statements, just a calculated absence that, to her critics, felt like confirmation and, to her supporters, felt like poise. Harry, appearing alone at a charity polo event, looked gaunt and weary. When asked about his brother, he replied with a tight smile, "Family is." Behind that understatement lurked a battlefield. The question now haunting the palace was not simply whether Meghan leaked the rumor, but whether this was only the first. Was more to come? Were private photos, messages, or testimonies waiting in the wings, ready to further destabilize the fragile truce between Sussex and Windsor? Royal historians warned that this could become the most damaging internal rift since the abdication crisis of 1936, not because of the rumor itself, but because of what it represented, a monarchy at war with itself, in full view of a world that no longer. For Kate, the toll was personal. Insiders spoke of long, tearful nights and a sense of being. Her friends whispered that she felt trapped, unable to defend herself without feeding the narrative. She has 3 children to protect, one confidant said, and now every schoolgate feels like a press. William, ever the stoic heir, carried on with official duties but began privately rallying allies within the institute. There were talks of tightening access to senior royals, implementing new rules on confidential communications, and even cutting off certain overseas family members from key briefings, a thinly veiled reference to the Sussexes. And Meghan? She played the long game. Truth will out, she was overheard telling a friend in But truth, in the royal world, is rarely pure and never simple. Whether she had orchestrated the leak or merely allowed it to travel unchecked, the result was the same, a kingdom in turmoil, a future king under fire, and a duchess once again at the eye of a storm she claimed to despise. Yet somehow as the autumn gala season approached, speculation turned feverish. Would Meghan and Harry return to the UK, or would they remain exiled, their absence speaking louder than any statement? Would Kate make a bold public show of unity with William and Rose Hanbury, or would the affair rumors linger like smoke over a smoldering battle? One thing was certain, this was no longer just about a rumor. It was about power, revenge, and the dangerous price of royal